Welcome to our Evolutionary Leaders community call. Our topic for today is big picture initiatives. So we're very excited to welcome our guest discussion leaders, Emanuel Kuntzelman, Jude Currivan, and Rick Ulfik. Thank you to all of you who've joined us today. I remember when I first met Rick Ulfik. I was in Diane Williams' office at the Interfaith Center of New York. And Rick was part of the team. We were preparing for the season for nonviolence at the United Nations. And Rick announced that he was starting an organization called We the World. And I just thought, who is this guy? This guy taking on as the name of his organization, We the World? Really? And over the years, I have just been so impressed with what he was able to do with that seed concept to bring it forth. And I realize now, all of these decades later, as we come together as evolutionary leaders, that it is in our blood, all of us, to want to change the world, to want to move into the future in a positive way, and to want to find that lever that moves consciousness and that really makes a difference. So today, we have chosen to highlight three of our evolutionary leaders who have really taken on the big picture vision in their work. And we're going to hear from each of them about what they're up to. So I've asked Emanuel Kuntzelman to start off our conversation today. And as you know, he's the founder of Green Heart International, and also a co-creator of the Global Purpose Movement. And he is going to talk to us today about the Holo movement. So I give you Emanuel Kuntzelman.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here and joy to be expressing some thoughts on the Holo movement. The Holo movement is a term that was originally coined by physicist David Bohm. Back in 1980, he wrote a little book called Wholeness and the Implicate Order. And in that book, he used the term Holo movement to describe the unbounded, limitless movement of the cosmos. He was talking about physics at the time, but it was clear that he also intended this to be applicable to the evolution of consciousness and in indirect ways, perhaps to social movements as well. David Bohm was a protege of Albert Einstein at the end of Einstein's life, and Einstein referred to him as his spiritual son. And Bohm really took on the concepts of Einstein in his search for a grand unity theory of everything, which, as we well know, Einstein never really resolved and hasn't been. Bohm grasped that feeling, and in many ways, his ideas of the implicate order of things and the Holo movement, at least philosophically, comes as close to a grand theory of everything as anything I have read. And Bohm described that there's an implicate order, this essence, the kernel of the big breath, the dawn, the beginning of everything. And it expands, it grows, it creates space and time, it contracts, it flows, the Holo movement, the wholeness, moving, flowing, unbounded, limitless through us all the time. And so in honor of David Bohm, I would like to use this term to apply it to the grand movement of movements that's taking place in and through all of us, our organizations, the evolutionary leaders, and the hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of like-minded movements worldwide. Perhaps some of you have seen that video of Paul Hawken speaking about the hundreds of thousands of movements out there working primarily in their silos, not yet connected, but with all the same intention of mind. The evolution of consciousness, bringing wholeness back to this world of separation and materiality in which we love and live. And these hundreds of thousands, perhaps now millions of movements are coming together. You know, it's often been said to me, well, it's a nameless, leaderless, unidentifiable movement. To which I've answered, well, it is, and perhaps it isn't. And perhaps the fact that it doesn't have a name is a disadvantage. And if we turn simply to the idea of branding, I think the work we are doing together needs a brand. It needs an identity, and probably more than ever, because we're up against a big struggle here. The world of separation and the world of materialism seems to be getting stronger all the time. And yes, definitely our human civilization is falling ever deeper into many crises. So our movement to rectify that, to bring us together and work as one, deserves a name. And I'm proposing, along with many other people that I've been working with over the last few years, one of our presenters today, Jude Currivan, has consulted with and given us great insight on the cosmological aspects of the Holo movement. And Terry Patton and I have been meeting for over a year now, working on the psycho-spiritual and sociological aspects in his organization, A New Republic of the Heart. And likewise, recently I've presented this idea at World Unity Week and recorded sessions for Humanity Rising and the Global Oneness Summit as well. So it seems that organically, maybe the Holo movement's time has come. 2021, and better late than never, I guess. The Holo movement, there are three components I'd like to briefly discuss, which I will call the good, the bad, and the beautiful. And the good is the Holo movement is endemic. It is the source of consciousness. It is the oneness within us. So we don't have to seek it, find it, rediscover it. Is all we need to do is meditate upon it, and it's there, and it rises within. That's the good news. The bad news is most of us are in denial, or maybe wallowing in complacency. Crisis? What crisis? So the ice caps are melting and the forests are burning and the rivers are polluted, et cetera, but really, what, me worry? So the Holo movement needs to wake up vast sectors of humanity to the fact that the materialistic paradigm has gone too far, and it's brainwashed us to the extent that we can't even recognize the innate, unbounded wholeness within ourselves. And then finally, the beautiful news. And the beautiful news as we come together and we network and we combine with others of those hundreds of thousands of grassroots and nonprofit organizations worldwide, and we find new connections, new synergies, new strength, new energy, deeper vision, we build a cultural ecosystem of support for ourselves, for our organizations, for our work together with other organizations, and move it forward. And it really is a beautiful active movement, moving us forward. And part of that beautiful news combines with the good news, because it's the most natural thing that ever was. It's going back to the good and the beautiful and the just and the truth in the human spirit and soul, with which we all identify and we all share. And it's part of us. And it becomes an attractor in these moments of crisis, as we know in chaos theory. Things get bad and a critical situation arises, there's an attractor. There's something there. And as the crisis deepens, the creative possibilities increase in proportion to the depth of the crisis, to the point where we have so many solutions arising and we respond to the call. And it becomes this call to oneness, to wholeness, to the values we share in the human heart, the natural endemic process within ourselves. It is the holotropic attractor calling us back to oneness, whispering in our hearts and ears, we are one, we are together, we need to work on it, we need to bring humanity back together and allow the holotropic attractor of the holo movement to pull us into the future. So in the end, yes, perhaps it's mere sociological branding, but it's time. It's time to give it a name, give it a spirit, and explain what it is. It's the holo movement, the unbounded oneness of the cosmic breath, moving within us all and bringing us together, pulling us into a better, brighter future for humanity. Thank you all for being part of the holo movement and being with us here today. Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Emanuel. The unbounded oneness of the cosmic breath. What a beautiful call that is to humanity. And I'm reminded that when the Source of Synergy Foundation was convening this group of evolutionary leaders, one of our goals was to hope to find common language for this movement that we all felt was taking place just at this critical moment for humanity. So thank you so much, Emanuel and Laura, for your contributions to that. It's perfect that our next speaker, Dr. Jude Currivan, is a cosmologist. So she's been looking deep into not only our future, but our past and our present and where we are in this moment. And I know you all know about her book, The Cosmic Hologram, although she's written many others. And I'm very happy to announce that she's just turned in her newest manuscript this morning. So this is a very special day. And Jude is co-founder of the Whole World View. And that's what she's going to talk to us about today. So welcome, Jude Currivan.
Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, everyone. It's great to be together. And Emanuel, that was so beautiful and so heart, soul centered and so timely. So thank you. And I'm delighted that we've been working together to, in a sense, help a holistic framework for the holo movement, because we all have worldviews and our worldviews drive our behaviors. So if we have a holistic worldview, our natural way of being together is to understand and experience that oneness, as Emanuel described. But mainstream science has been telling us for quite a long time that that is not the reality of our world. Instead, it's been saying that our reality is solely materialistic and is made up of separate things. And even though 20th century science was showing some clues that that was just not the case, there really wasn't enough evidence to really ground this completely 180-degree different perspective. And although David Bohm was an incredible pioneer, as were the quantum physicists, as was Albert Einstein, as were so many, it literally has only been in the last few years that the sort of the aspects of what can really come together to offer us a holistic framework, evidential framework for what the Hollow Movement's about and what we're about as evolutionary leaders. And I'd like to just share in the next few minutes a quick run through, you know, the nature of reality. Let's not put a fine point on it. Because it seems to me that without an evidential framework, we're still sort of trying to come together. We're still hoping and aiming and feeling in our hearts we can. But I think the difference now is, first of all, this time is urgent. Secondly, that there is a movement within people, hearts and souls, to really try and come together. And at this time too, we now have the evidence for a complete revolution in our understanding of the nature of reality itself that can really, I feel, offer us a whole world framework for what Emanuel's talking about and what Rick has been doing so amazingly for so long. And I think this is really key. What we're talking about at Whole World View, though, is we're very clear that understanding this isn't enough. We need to understand it, but more importantly, from that understanding, then to experience it and then to embody it. So I think all of us in all our different ways are really looking at that hierarchy of understanding, experience, and embodying. And we talk about acting local, feeling global, and thinking cosmic, because that thinking cosmic and that ability to really say, yes, we are one. Yes, really, separation is an illusion. And it's not just a hope. We now have the evidence. And we have the evidence not just at tiny scales. We have the evidence at all scales of existence and across numerous fields of research. And I think that is the really key difference. Because if we're saying this is the reality at quantum scales, 99.9% of people say, so what? If we say, well, it's out there in the scale of galaxies, people say, so what? If we say this is the evidence that actually describes how we collectively behave as human beings, and that's why tech companies so want to get your data, because they know that the natural algorithms that describe the patterns in the natural world are exactly the same fractal patterns that describe collective human behaviors. And that's a deeper, deeper sense of why it's nonsense in any sense to think we're separate somehow from the whole world. The whole world and we are inseparable. So I've just got a very few slides. So this is why I feel this is so important now, is that new discoveries, new scientific discoveries are enabling an integral perspective of the whole world. And it's showing now how the appearance, as Emanuel talked about this and David Bohm, from the implicate order, how the explicate, the appearance of our universe emerges from non-physical and causative, meaningful and causative realms of unified reality. I always think when I sort of share this stuff, I wish David Bohm was here. He'd be jumping up and down. You know, as would Albert Einstein, as would Max Planck, as would all the folks who were the pioneers and the giants on whose shoulders we stand. But the thing that's different now is, while this new understanding, this emergent understanding, was ushered in by quantum and relativistic physics, it's only now able to be put together as a holistic framework by understanding the nature of meaningful information. We talk about information or data, and we sometimes consider it to be meaningless, or we talk about disinformation or false information, whatever. The universe in its entirety comprises meaningful information that literally informs its appearance. So we're bringing together now quantum physics that describe energy matter, relativity that describes space-time, in formation with a holographic principle that says that when we look at black holes and try and understand them, we understand how then we can expand them into the whole universe as being a holographic, which is why Emanuel talks about the hollow movement, because this is what David Bohm was getting to, essentially, that the whole is reflected in every part, and every part is an intrinsic aspect of the whole. The final piece of this Rubik's Cube of understanding is an expansion of thermodynamics, which talks about heat and work, to actually describing it in terms of information. And when that happens, everything just comes together as a holistic framework. To give us this holistic, hollow movement cosmology, because this really is the science of love, as I'll explain. And crucially, it's based on the primacy of mind and consciousness, where cosmic mind expresses itself as digitized and meaningful information, just as all our technologies take ones and zeros, which of themselves have no meaning, and they bring them together in streams of ones and zeros, which mean a name, which mean a word, which mean a song, which mean a picture. So our universe does that. And its universal alphabet is ones and zeros that combine meaningfully as planets and plants and people. The entire appearance of our universe is holographically manifested and informed. And crucially for our understanding, it's non-locally connected. And the non-locally unified universe, it's a natural framework for spirituality, for ancient and indigenous wisdom, and for all of the supernormal phenomena that our friends at IONS and elsewhere research. So all, our superpowers are our intuition. They're our willingness to look and listen to synchronicities. And mainstream science and the reductionist perspective has no framework to hold them. This holistic framework does. This science of consciousness, this science of love does. So within this unified universe, a living universe, as Dwayne would say, where living extends to its entirety, way beyond biological organisms, its appearance of energy, matter, space, time emerges as meaningfully informed and expressed in complementary ways. It shows that our universe exists and evolves from simplicity to complexity. Emanuel talked about the big breath. I've been speaking of this for many years. I say our universe didn't begin as a big bang. It wasn't big and it wasn't a bang. Instead, it began as an incredibly ordered, fine-tuned, and first moment of an ongoing big breath, where space has expanded and time has flowed ever since. And that has enabled our universe not just to exist, but to evolve. And as I mentioned, what this framework does is it naturalizes supernormal and spiritual and indigenous and ancient wisdom teachings, but it also opens an invitation to us. It opens an invitation to us to engage with multidimensional communications. So one of our newest synergy circles is the Contact and Consciousness Circle. And we're recognizing that so much of what we call extraterrestrial contact is also intraterrestrial contact and multidimensional engagement. So for many of our evolutionary leaders and for many people around the world, this offers, as if we needed it, but a lot of people I think do, a sense of grounding and a sense of legitimacy, a sense of a safe haven to be able to share their experiences in this way. And for me, this is part of our evolutionary impulse. This is part of our conscious evolution. So all these patterns that we're talking about in the Hollow movement and what I write about, the informed and holographic manifestation of the reality of our universe reveals itself in universal patterns and processes. And it's not just through all of the patterns of the natural world, from atoms to solar system to galaxies to our entire universe, but these same patterns play out in human systems and behaviors. The same patterns play out in earthquakes and conflicts. They play out in ecosystems and the internet. And the thing is, they all arise from underlying holotropic attractors, as Emanuel said. So if we can co-create an attractor for conflict, we can co-create an attractor for cooperation, for peace, for love. And this is what we're talking about. Finally, this emergent whole world view shows us that mind and consciousness aren't something we have. They're what we and the whole world are. They're our most fundamental, that's who we are, and that's what our entire universe is. Our universe is a finite thought. I can't go into it now, but there's massive evidence. It began in a finite way 13.8 billion years ago. It's the first moment of a big breath. It will come to the end of its thought form. Massive, beautiful thought form in the infinite and eternal mind of the cosmos at some point. But within this thought form that we call our universe, we are inseparable. We are differentiated. We are unique, individuated microcosms of its genius, its intelligence, but we are inseparable. Our entire universe, Gaia, our planetary home, and we exist to evolve. We have this innate evolutionary impulse. We literally stand together with Gaia, with our entire universe at the bow wave of its next potential, its next unfolding of its evolutionary possibility. Vitally, everything in existence has meaning and purpose. And we are its microcosmic co-creators and its evolutionary partners. This, as we know, is our moment of choice. So what the Hollow movement, I feel, is inviting and welcoming and asking us, and what Rick is with We the World and what I am with Whole World View, is for us to link up and lift up so that our moment of choice can be in attunement and alignment with the evolutionary impulse of our entire universe. So as we come together, what do we now choose to co-envision? What do we now choose to co-create? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Jude Currivan, for that voyage through this cosmic understanding of who we are, and particularly who we are together. That was awe-inspiring, Jude. Thank you so much. And so interesting to hear this detailed presentation of what it means to be the embodied consciousness of the universe, following Emanuel's presentation on his vision of how we come together in this big picture way at this moment in time. And it's perfect, of course, that our next speaker is Rick Ulfik, the founder of We the World, because We the World has not only been dedicated to the concept that we have to build the sense of we until there's no more them, but also We the World has focused on many practical initiatives for how people can come together to make the world a better place. So I'm really excited to hear from Rick Ulfik of We the World.
Thank you. So wonderful to hear you, Jude, and Emanuel. My name is Rick Ulfik. I'm the founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. It's all about we, isn't it? So I thought I would tell folks about the origin of We the World. I don't think many people know that We the World was originally a film idea. I started writing a film script back in 1995 when I thought it would be really important for the public to see in the form of a film, a fictional film, and in the future a bit, of the epic story of how our world comes together to solve its problems. So after months of working on the characters, the script, what it would take for the world to really come together to solve its problems, I realized that this shouldn't just be a film. I wanted to see it actually happen. And that eventually led me to start We the World, the organization, in 1998. And it's been an incredible journey that many of you have shared with me over the years. So thank you for that. With your help and the help of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Jane Goodall, Deepak Chopra, Daniel Ellsberg, Marianne Williamson, Bill McKibben, and so many, many others, we've touched the lives of well over 6 million people. Probably our biggest initiative over the years has been 11 Days of Global Unity, and I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see. So in 2004, We the World and our many partners worldwide launched 11 Days of Global Unity, which goes from September 11th through September 21st, culminating on the International Day of Peace. And out of 11 days, 11 campaigns for change have developed, ranging from environment to economic justice, human rights, freedom, disarmament, and peace. More than 600 organizations have signed up to collaborate with us on one or more of these campaigns. And I'll show you another image here. So what I was showing before, sorry, is just, a little bit of the images from 11 Days of Global Unity and the Global Unity calendar, the wonderful telesummits that we've had over the years with the Shift Network, and these campaigns, like I mentioned, with the interesting folks. Some of the historic events that have been part of 11 days, like giving Arun Gandhi the Heart of Humanity Award for 100 years of his family, the Gandhi family of nonviolence, that kind of thing. And then, and this is the themes in more detail. So thank you. And what I wanted to mention is that we're excited now to invite you to join us in a new program that we're preparing to launch called, it's part of the We Power campaign, and it's called We Power America. We're starting this in the USA. It's the We Power America Renewable Energy Media Campaign and Major Movement Builder. We're starting the campaign in the US because the US is one of the world's primary polluters and greenhouse gas emitters, and the US has a tremendous influence on the rest of the world socially, politically, economically, militarily, et cetera. And we anticipate inspiring and working with other movements, like sister movements, such as We Power Brazil, We Power India, and other countries worldwide. So at this crucial moment when national green jobs and infrastructure plans in the USA are meeting so much opposition, and the levels of political polarization in the US is so extreme. The We Power America campaign is designed to bring large numbers of people and groups together to create the public support and political will to make the changes we need. So here's the mission of We Power America: to mobilize at least 2 million people, creating the pivotal groundswell needed to build public and support and political will to make that transition to green, renewable, the economy and our whole society. We want to build a narrative and media message that clearly informs millions of Americans about the tremendous health, economic, environmental, and security benefits of making that transition. And we want to powerfully address the extreme political polarization with a unifying message about we and the common good. So with this campaign, our intention is to shift the narrative around climate with multiple compelling strategies, targeted regional media campaign, local on the ground organizing with town hall meetings, and so many other ways to gather, college campus talks, concerts, and of course, this unifying message about we and the common good. So we're inviting you, the ELs, and all folks who are doing the work to create a world that works for all, to become an endorser and actually be part of this campaign that we're preparing to launch, the We Power America campaign. And part of this is that we have a social action directory that will be promoted to millions of people through this campaign. And we're going to launch it for 11 Days of Global Unity. So we invite you to be part of this, and that's part of what we're doing.
Thank you, Rick. Could you, before you conclude, just say a few words about trends?
Oh, yeah, sure. So we launched a magazine called Trends in Global Grassroots Organizing. It can be found in by going to trends.we.net. It's a way of tracking all of these global movements that we and others are involved with. And it is part of a beautiful growing community of online publications that Kurt Johnson, who is also on this, has been kind of shepherding all of these, the Light on Light and all of these things. So Trends is part of that. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Deborah, for mentioning that.
No, thank you, Rick, for all the amazing work you've been doing. Really, really impressive. From
beautiful, Rick.
One guy with one big idea to really reach out in so many ways to make the world a better place. So we bow to you. And thank you to all three of our Big Picture Initiative presenters today, to Emanuel for the vision of the Holo movement and how we can really all come together at this important moment, to Jude for her amazing research into the evidence that we are in fact one, and that everything that we do makes a difference, and to Rick for bringing that all out into the world in so many beautiful ways. So do any of the three of you want to weigh in here? Yes, Jude, sure.
Well, first of all, thank you, everyone. And it was such a delight to be with Emanuel and Rick, because what it seems to me is we are all saying the same thing from different perspectives. And this is what I feel is really powerful. You know, if we were saying things that were different in some way or weren't supporting in some way, but all that Jane Goodall is doing, all that Desmond Tutu has done all his life, all that Bill Hawken has done, all that Rick and Emmanuel and I do, all that we're all doing, is it seems to me we're all part of this hollow movement, whether we call it or not, because we've all shown up and got out of the way of serving the conscious evolution, not just of humanity, but actually realizing that we truly are part of an even bigger evolutionary impulse that is embodied in our planetary home, Gaia, and all her children, and embodied in the entire universe. So Rick, when you were talking just now about the Me Power in America, I just want to really say, let's the regeneration is all of, you know, our relationship, healing our relationship with Gaia, because that's our deepest wound, in a sense, is our schism with Gaia as our primary mother. So we don't have time now, but I'd love us to continue that conversation of how we can bring the regeneration into a deeper felt, experienced sense of healing our relationship with Gaia.
Yep. And you know, Jude, thank you for that. And I wanted to also mention this whole concept of a hologram, because it makes me think, you know, since we all have our separate our perspectives on this same like hollow movement that Emanuel is talking about, I at a certain point when I was much younger, I used to go to a holography studio or holography laboratory of a friend of mine named Eugene Dolgoff. And I just went there to be his assistant, and I learned all of this stuff about holography. And he would take these holograms in really groundbreaking work. And what I realized is that you can take a hologram. It feels like a flat piece of film, but it shows an image, you know, three-dimensionally. But if you cut off a corner of the hologram, that corner shows the entire image, but from the perspective of the corner. And if you cut off another corner and you look at it, it shows the entire image, but again, from the perspective of that corner. So it's really a remarkable kind of analogy for what we're all doing. You see what I mean?
It's not even an analogy, because it's the literal way in which our universe creates its appearance. And, you know, I talk about sometimes to say that our human holograms and our human virtual realities, they're kids' toys. Our universe is the masterclass.
Yeah.
And, you know, and when we talk about high definition holograms, which they're incredible high definition, the pixelation of our universe is 1 trillion times smaller, finer than the most high definition holograms we've come up with. So yeah, it's a wonderful analogy, but it's actually the literal reality.
That's so wonderful. Thank you.
Emmanuel, did you want to
Yeah,
weigh in?
indeed it is. Well, yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. And indeed it is. You know, when we hear that we are the universe is us, sounds like a high-sounding idealistic philosophy, but it's actually the truth. As Jude said, that's the way the universe is. And we're all part of that, but yet we have the wholeness within ourselves too. And I think that's a very important principle for everyone to hear and understand over and over again, because once that becomes part of your worldview, this sense of separation begins to dissolve as well. As William Blake once said, you know, see the world in the grain of sand. It's really literally true and works for us. So, and just another note on that, one of the greatest books I've read on the hologram is Michael Talbot book on the holographic universe. And although that's been out for I think, 20 some years now. If you haven't read that book, please do, because it's a pure joy. It's a marvel. And he just explains the miracles of physical reality in terms of a holographic universe. And for all the complications, in the end, it's really simple because we are a hologram. Michael Talbot kind of describes it like riding a bicycle. You know, if you break down all the component parts, all the muscle movements and motor neurons and everything and put it together, you could write a long book about how to ride a bike. But if you just forget all that and go with the natural flow and get on your bike and glide down the road, you've got it. So it's beyond thinking, and it's part of our true nature.
Thank you. And I want to wholeheartedly thank our three discussion leaders today, Emanuel Kuntzelman, Dr. Jude Currivan, and Rick Ulfik, for your amazing, not only vision, but the enormity of your commitment to bringing forth these beautiful, important concepts and how we can all live into them and make them happen.